And I wanted to ask you this one first. This is from Steve Palladino, and he says, can you please have Tom talk a bit about mixed intensity workouts? So some people out there, in the running world are familiar with just kind of general structure of how different coaches and different groups structure their training. But maybe this would be a good time for you to talk about mixing intensity with workouts, because maybe the regular the regular recreational runner, amateur runner isn't familiar with the concept, but maybe you can talk a little bit about your system and how you do that.
Sure. And that's a great question by a great coach. Coach Palladino's a good coach. Okay, the concept is the important starting point. The concept that I originated back in the 1980s is simple. It doesn't take much to get the effect. Right? Take a look at mileage as an example away from, say, the quality that Coach Palladino was talking about. We know from research that if you run roughly 25 miles per week, you're going to have about a 25% improvement in your endurance. That's pretty close. When you double your mileage to 50, you have half of that. And then when you double it again, another half. You see how you lose as you increase the amount. That was my concept. I noticed, for example, that if I ran as a 14-year-old, that if I went from 3 miles per day all the way up to 6 miles per day, I really improved my performance a lot in the 10K road races I was doing. But I noticed when I would go up even to 9 miles, I would try to do 9 miles when I was 14, 15 years old, the improvement was a small amount. And so it occurred to me that we can get a lot for a little. Taking this now into the realm of interval training, which was in my understanding at the time of something that I wanted to evaluate, my understanding was that if I ran 6 quarters, 6 times a quarter during the track season or whatever, I would have a certain amount of improvement, say 3 seconds in my mile time, or 3 seconds per lap, okay? But what if I did 12? I might only improve 1 second by doubling it, but I increased my injury rate by 3 or 4 times. Okay, so maybe a happy medium is what I was thinking. Maybe somewhere between the 6 and 12 is just right. And that concept applies to all of the interval training realm. There's a certain point where you have diminishing returns. More reps is not necessarily better. So if it's possible, for example, let's use VO2 max as an example. If it's possible to get all the benefits for the individual by running 5 times 800 for that person, let's say the person that runs them in 2:30, that's their VO2 max, something they can run for 6-7 minutes all out. Why do we need to have them do 6, 7, 8 repetitions of 800 when 5 gets the job done? Okay, if we get to the point where we've run all 5 of them and we've derived all the benefits before we have diminishing returns, can we not add on shorter quality, maybe 200-meter repeats to work on speed development, speed endurance, something to that effect? Right? Because we still have the capacity to do 6, 7, 8 times 800, don't we? So let's stop at 5 and use the extra energy we would have had to run 7 or 8 reps to run some 200s or some hill repeats or something else or some short sprints. Okay? So I'm just saying that we tend to think that we just got to add more, do as many repetitions as we possibly can handle at that intensity and keep going with that intensity. I say, hey, maybe 2/3 of the way through the maximum you can do, that's enough because you've got all the benefits. You've stimulated your body's, various systems to develop all the effects. So let's add on something else. That was kind of my concept back in the day, and it's proved to be accurate. So then the key to applying the concept is saying, look, I don't need to have separate workouts. I don't need to do repeat 800s on Tuesday at 2:30, and then on Friday I need to do 12 200s in 30 seconds. I can combine it and say, I'll stop it at instead of doing 6 800s, I might do 4 800s on Tuesday, and then add on 6 200s. And what you're also doing is simulating what happens in a race.
Right.
Because you close fast. Right?
Right. Well, and that's the goal for starting a little bit below, like practicing everything in the entire system is encouraging it. If you don't have that ability, like you're writing in the training, to be able to close fast, then you can't possibly run at that just below the effort and then at the end start to crank it up. So it's tying it all together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very possible. I do it all the time with my athletes, depending upon what part of the developmental phase, whether they're 6 months or 3 months away from their target event or six weeks away. I restructure the order of it. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily do all the slow reps at first and all the fast reps at the end.
Right.
That is the best approach, in my view, if you lack endurance, lack stamina. Mm-hmm. In other words, the generic understanding is among my elite athletes, we're focusing on strength.
Sure.
Strength, because that's a conventional understanding. And that's totally fine, right? So the strength approach is we do the longer repetitions at slower paces early in the workout, and we do the shorter repetitions, whether they're on the flat track or up a hill or whatever you decide to do at the end. Okay, that's a strength approach. That works fantastic because that basically serves the purpose of base training.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. It sets the base,
I've had several sprint coaches right away say to me, how come you don't or sprint coaches who end up becoming put into the role of having to coach distance runners on their high school or college teams, because I've been an advisor to a lot of university coaches. And they will ask me, how come you don't put speed first? Because when they start out at the beginning of the race, they're going out fast. I said, well, first of all, you're making the assumption that putting some speed at the end of a workout, like I do with the strength approach, somehow is not going to help you at the start of a race.
Right.
It is. Right. It is. And you don't have to sprint at maximum speed to get speed benefits. Mm-hmm. You don't.
Right.
Okay. Probably for a distance runner, no, they never need to run all out. They need to go no faster than 400 meter speed ever. Because what you're doing is you're increasing their risk of injury enormously by going with maximum sprint. And they never get to even 400 meter speed, hardly ever, during a race. Right, cross-country races. Let me give you an example. If you raced effectively in a 5K cross-country race and you're a high school kid, you raced effectively, meaning you didn't go out at an insanely fast pace and follow the pack, and you just ran your own steady pace that you could hold and gradually got to gradually maybe ramped it up a little bit or held the fastest even pace you could, and then started coming down, increasing the speed the last kilometer. What you'll find is you can run the last 30 to 60 seconds, depending upon how many races you've done. Mm-hmm. Last 30 to 60 seconds, you will run at your 1 mile racing speed. Mm-hmm. I have literally timed even collegiate runners in the last 400 meters of their 8 or 10K race, and they never exceed their mile speed. Right. Never. But if you asked them at the race, how fast were you running? Say, I was running maximum speed. Do you realize you never even broke 1 mile race speed the last quarter mile?
Right.
Okay, 5K, you watch high school 5K guys, they never run faster. The last quarter mile, they never break 1 mile racing speed average.
Right.
Now, if they waited until 200 meters to go, they might run the last 200 meters at closer to 800 meter racing speed. Mm-hmm. So really I always say a high school kid, you don't need to run faster than 800 probably. If you're doing 200 meter reps, 4 of them, four 200s at 800 meter speed is plenty of speed training, because you're not going to go faster than that during a cross country season.
Right.
And even a kid who runs the 1600 meters in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say he's a 440 kid and he runs 70 per lap, right? If he paces himself and doesn't go out in 66 or 65, which is not a good strategy, but he goes out pretty close to 70, maybe 69 and change, then he's 70, then he's 71 and change. He gets to the last lap. he'll probably run it at 68, something like that.
Right.
But really, it's over the last 200 that he's picking it up.
Right.
Right. Because he starts kicking too soon. He can't hold it and he slows down.
Right.
But he's not even going faster than his 800 meter speed. His last 200, if he's really good, is 33. Right.
Right.
Well, that's his 800 meter speed.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how I segued in onto that, but I'm always reminded of these kinds of concepts when questions are asked. And we're trying to figure out how to practically apply them.
Right.
I hopefully answered Coach Palladino's question there.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I